Hey there. Although I am involved with CADAC, the Center of ADHD Awareness Canada, the views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the participants and do not reflect those of CADAC. And now, cue the music.
This is the Impulsive Thinker Podcast, a show for high-achieving ADHD entrepreneurs. Together, we will inform and educate you about how to improve your self-awareness while developing systems, routines, and habits for conquering the entrepreneurial world. Here is your host, Andre Brisson.
Hey there, it's Andre, the Impulsive Thinker Podcast short. This episode is brought to you by CADAC, the Center of ADHD Awareness Canada. This past Monday, you actually heard a great conversation between my friend and I, Julia Waller from Strategic Coach, and we talked about parenting and identifying your kids' strengths to empower them to be themselves and let them do things or let them solve problems and do things the way they know works best for them. And what I wanted to talk to you here is that I'm not too sure if this was communicated effectively, but as entrepreneurs, it's amazing how, especially at the startup phase, and there's a lot of stresses, a lot of money on the line, pride, ego. We tend to take for granted our family, our spouse, our wife, our husband, our partner, and our kids. Looking back, it's all unintentional. A lot of it had to do with undiagnosed ADHD at the same time too, but the amount of times that I made a quick decision to say, I'll just miss dinner because if I can get this done, I'll have more time later with them. Or if I get home after dinner, I'll spend time with them. And then you start canceling stuff. You start showing up late. You don't show up at all. You go in for the weekend just so you can make the company survive. No matter how you discuss it or talk yourself out of it, in the end, we dismiss and ignore the ones that matter most. And unfortunately, I'm very fortunate to have an understanding wife and kids, but in a way, I ignored them a lot of time, all in the sense of the business. And as entrepreneurs, we got to be aware of that and that our legacy, our future resides in our family. And I did not want raise my kids like I was raised, to not like myself or not do the things I know is the way I do best. So Julie and I really discussed how you can empower your kids, get to know your kids, understand, especially the ones you can't connect with. You don't understand them because they're not like you. And as entrepreneurs, use your skill as an entrepreneur to solve these complex problems or new innovations. Do them with your kids, right? You're an entrepreneur, you build up a company, you solve a lot of problems because you are curious, you're interested. Do the same for your kid. Understand why. Ask them why they don't do the things like you, or even asking them, how are you processing this? What are you thinking? What are you seeing? Do some assessments to understand their strengths. Do it with your wife, your spouse, your husband. The communication and problem-solving capabilities grow tremendously if you all understand and appreciate and respect how everyone at home work. The energy is a lot higher. Now that you understand, you can communicate effectively. I know with my oldest, I communicate in a more systematic direction or way than I would with my younger. My younger one, we have to do more physical manipulation of space. If we want her to do things a little more, we got to communicate in a way to how she's actually manipulating space rather than just doing the system. It's very important that the relationships we have at our homes is more important than the relationships we have with our friends, our friends, businesses, colleagues, and all that. And I'm talking this, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm not trying to lay blame here because I'm guilty as hell about this. This is all from experience, and I'm talking about recent experience, and I finally got a handle of this about 2 to 3 years ago, right? 2 to 3 years ago, and I had 15 years of entrepreneurial journey of unwillingly, unknowingly neglecting my family because we just took advantage. We take advantage of that. I took advantage of that. I took it for granted is actually a better term, not taking advantage. It took for granted. My family, I know they're going to be there later. Fortunately, they're still around because I'll tell you one thing. There's a lot of times that she had the rights to not be there anymore. If we can give even an ounce of attention that we give towards a company, towards our kids, to understand how they work, what their abilities are, and how they can advocate for themselves and work in their strengths, man, the rewards of watching your kids grow strong, confident, and advocate for themselves is tremendous. And I'll tell you one thing, when those kids start looking at you because you respect who they are, you validate how they work, even though it's different than you, and you even say, that's not how I'd do it, but the way you did it was really good and creative, they start treating you different. They start talking to you more. They start trusting you more. And they want to spend time with you more. And honestly, that's a big shift for me. And I don't have to demand it anymore. They just want to hang out. And that has a lot to do with the respect that you're showing them because you're allowing them to be themselves and you're letting them do things how they want. So what I learned was I have a task that needs to be done. I only communicate the results I'm looking for and I let them figure it out in between. We'll discuss if they didn't understand how to start. Just get them started. Let them do what they normally do and how they do it. It might take longer than you. It might take less time. Doesn't matter. The result is key. And let them make suggestions how to improve it or how they can do it better. Gives them power, especially young girls. Gives them the power and the confidence to be themselves and advocate for themselves. So I would really like you to take a look. I got in the show notes. I got the links for there's the kids' assessments for the student aptitude quiz, the Clifton Strengths for Kids. And I would recommend that you start there or even just read up. Pay attention, observe how they do things, and ask them why they do certain things. Like for my daughter, she always needed something in her hand, and I asked her one day, I said, why do you need something? She goes, I need something real in my hand so I can focus better. But listen to the terms that they're using. It's amazing. The kids know what they do best. They know how to solve problems the way they do it. They just know how they work best. As adults, we have to learn that again. So I don't want to suppress my kids' ability of knowing themselves at a young age and then having me talk them out of what they know best and try to push them or force them into a mold that doesn't fit them. And I think we need to respect that. And those kids will be supremely powerful and unstoppable because we gave them the confidence to be themselves. We let them solve it. And that they can pursue a place, a location of work, or develop their own company where they can be themselves and work with other people that can be themselves and conquer the world. Thanks for listening to this ramble. Like Julia said, we both have a big passion about this, strengths, individualization, and especially with kids. I'd like to hear from you what you think about all this, or if you got any ideas or suggestions on what you do with your kids. I'd love to hear from you. You can email me at questions@theimpulsivethinker.com. And thanks again for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Impulsive Thinker podcast. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion for the show, please visit theimpulsivethinker.com. The Impulsive Thinker podcast is produced by Tactical Breakthroughs and hosted by Andre Brisson. Remember, ADHD is only a part of you, not all of you.